Good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are. Welcome to another scene in Requiem for London. And we place this scene at Treadwell's bookshop, where one Dietrich Graves is relaxing, working, poking his nose into one or two occult books, verifying whether they are fake or the genuine article. And he's there residing there for some time, studying, relaxing, working, until a certain individual who wishes to speak to Graves emerges and sees the shop, which I'm going to say is still open. It does open till quite late.
The individual. He has dressed for the occasion. This is not going to be a friendly visit. The people who are inside go about really not paying attention to the figure standing outside. If anyone was able to pierce the veil of obfuscation to see the individual standing there, it would be quite a haunting sight indeed. For the man was dressed in a black robe, with a faceless white mask, unmarred except for a black hand print placed upon it. He looks up. He can see not much, it seems. But judging from the fact that the top floor doesn't really have any windows, he suspects that is probably where he will find him. If he knew his old friend, he would probably have too much on his mind to have taken to doing research in the basement below Treadwell's. And as he is thinking this, the moment he is waiting for arrives, the store doors open with a jingle from the bell on the top, or at least I assume there's a bell, and very quickly, almost with a supernatural swiftness, he is inside. The person leaving might have felt a breeze go by real fast. It is starting to get chilly in London. Soon, footsteps begin echoing up the stairs. Dietrich hears them, the sound of steel-toed shoes against the carpet of the stairs, or unless it is wood. In that case, it would be a much more defined noise. He knows what's coming next.
Graves it's quite loud and obvious.
Oh yes, he does not try to hide himself.
All right, yeah, Graves will, with his supernatural senses, and because this is Haven, he's aware of every creak, every crunch, every noise that emanates around the place. And as you go on these wooden steps, they creak very loudly, and again, it seems as if the sheriff knows that this is purposeful, that if he was trying to hide, this would be quite difficult to climb these steps and not make sounds. As you move towards, you'll see that the door has already been slightly left ajar or slightly left open, though you can see it's a very heavy duty door. It's a very secure door. It seems wooden, but you can tell from the weight of the door as you open it that it is a very heavy reinforced door. And you'll see as you enter before you a very luxurious sort of room, again with books and items and portraits and paintings seems to be scattered around. This is a place of luxury. Someone put a lot of care and a lot of effort into this room. And as you look further down, you'll see before you one Mr. Graves sitting on a desk, doesn't seem to be paying attention to you as he's reading the few books that are laid out before him. And he seems to be flicking a coin in one hand, rotating it, balancing it on his knuckles, again with a very dexterous grace.
Since the door is ajar, Dietrich will find it no surprise when it creaks open ever so slightly, that the footfalls emanate now within the room, and that the figure relinquishes the cloak that he has used to obfuscate himself. He appears before him, garbed in his traditional disguise as the Black Hand. He just reaches into his cloak and pulls out the other coin.
Graves will, he's not looking at you, but every now and then he'll give a quick glance up. And then once he sees your hand removed with the coin, he leans back in his chair and with his hand on the other coin looking at it, just goes, so you're here to deliver for Adriana, my old friend.
The faceless mask is turned to Dietrich. Eyes meet, even the one is blocked from view. He says, I'm here to talk.
Very well, come, sit or stand, whatever your preference. Let us talk as friends, of course, as family. And Graves will shut one of the books he's got in front of him to give the sense that he's paying attention to you.
The sheriff remains standing, looking down at Dietrich. What are you doing, Dietrich?
I am doing as I always do. I tend to relics, gather information on our condition, and secure the Kindred future in London. Similar to you, but perhaps I do not get as much credit.
You know what I am talking about, Dietrich. The sheriff says this a little bit more forcefully. He knows Graves is giving him the runaround, and he is not having any of it tonight.
Okay, Graves will in some ways smirk, because he's realised he's actually gotten to the sheriff. Not much gets to the sheriff. He's not seen the sheriff act like this for a very long time. And he leans back and he sort of turns his chair towards you and, have I done something to upset you? Something that is concerns the sheriff, or the Black Hand, as you call yourself?
He continues to look at Dietrich. He responds by saying, I asked you to look after Adriana, and so you send her into the den of one of our missing siblings.
Oh, that.
Then,
yeah.
When she returns to you again, you send her to retrieve, and he holds up the coin, another curious item, but this time from a hunter. How, Dietrich, has this been helping to look after Adriana?
I apologize. The individual she was after, I did not know he was a hunter. I assumed He was dangerous. He seemed to wield a weapon, but nothing that should concern a kindred of Adriana's stature. The fact he was a hunter I was not aware of. I thought him just a hobby enthusiast or someone who collected these rare items.
The sheriff begins to lean over the desk now. He puts his hands down on it so that he draws his face even closer to Dietrich. This faceless mask, the black hand printed upon it, drawing the eyes no matter where you look at it. Dietrich, we are in this together. And yet you have spent these past few nights very selfishly taking advantage of my child. You understand the situation better than most of the city's citizens. You know what is lurking out there. This is not the time for your games.
Grace, he pulls a serious face. He pulls as if he was a bit joking before, but now he's playing a more serious face and looks towards you. Look, my friend, I must admit I perhaps indulged myself a little. It is hard not to when you get to our age, of course, but I really assure you what Adriana has been doing has helped us all. The retrieval of my relics will greatly assist us in our goals. But what concerns me is that you are not willing to sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed to achieve them. You do know that they will use her against you. If I have figured this out, they certainly have.
He stares at Dietrich for a few moments. Dietrich gets the impression that normally that would have greatly angered him, but again, there's just that cold emptiness. Although, with how calculated these next words are, you do realize that even if he cannot feel angry, it doesn't mean necessarily that he does not know when he should be angry. You have no right to talk about being unwilling to sacrifice, Dietrich Graves. I know who you really are. Yep, as he'll hold up his...
No, as soon as he says you don't know how to sacrifice, Graves gets a bit angered at that because it's like you don't know what I've had to sacrifice kind of look over his face. He might even stand up as you say that because he gets quite offended as you say that. But carry on.
If you really were willing to rip out your own heart again, and the words again are said with particular emphasis, you and I know very well that you are beyond that point. There comes a time when we reach a point where we can no longer sacrifice without completely destroying what we are, letting all semblance of order fall to chaos. You know of what I speak, Dietrich. So do not tell me about sacrifice.
I expect the same respect from you, my sheriff. You're well aware of what I've had to sacrifice to become what I am. Let us not dwell on these things. It's not good to be too tied to the past. And actually, Graves going to go into his pocket and he starts as if he's feeling something, as if he's feeling something in his top waistcoat pocket, and sort of calms down a bit more.
The sheriff is standing again now, straight, meeting Dietrich's eyes. Just sort of looks out towards the windows would normally be. They have been redone ages ago, no doubt.
Oh yeah, quite old.
The sheriff says next, "Things are in the works right now, my old friend. Things that threaten the very stability of the city. Things that our enemy will use. This can be no doubt. I have found ample evidence to support it. They are coordinated. They are working towards something, and we have no idea of what it is."
Graves, ooh, Graves pauses as you say that, and he looks to you with a raised eyebrow. And, I have come across something that has got my attention for the past few years. I thought it simple madness, but the patterns are starting to emerge. Things are aligning, as you would say. Something will occur soon. I'm still unsure as to what. I must carry on in my research, but I think it is no coincidence that things are getting more excitable, that these creatures are becoming more active in recent nights. Something is on the horizon, something very, very, well, I'm still unsure as to what.
The sheriff sighs. Perhaps in this moment right here, both of these kindred realize just how worn both of them are. There is a small moment of kinship as the sheriff does finally take the seat that was offered. This time he looks up to Graves and says, "I will be called upon to fulfill my duty these coming nights. The Carthians have begun to move. My spies report that there is talk of open conflict against the Invictus, and soon."
This cannot be. We can't have this now. We must. This will just cause more chaos. This will just cause more things to be lost. We cannot lose this advantage. We only have this one opportunity to strike at these things. Once it's gone, we will not have another like it for 1,000 years.
We must not have any secrets between us, old friend. Despite our differences, despite our secrets, we know that there are things that will bring the city to ruin if it is left in check. I have something more to report too. It has taken a very long time. I think there are 5 in total.
5. I estimated at least 7 or 6, but it's always hard to gauge. They are so alike and yet different. There are patterns, though. There always seems to be these patterns.
It is Ma'at showing us the way, the means to hold back the tide of chaos. And if we do not do this, Dietrich, no one will.
Ah, look, my old friend, I apologize for what I have done to with Adriana. Just trying to merely send you a message. That is all. In regards to trust, keep the coin she gave you. Let me show you a neat trick, as it were. Rotate the coin on your right hand over your fingers. Do this 3 times. And then place the coin into your eye. You'll see.
The Black Hand will oblige, and after spinning it and placing it over his eye,
He will suddenly, his vision sort of goes vague or black, and suddenly he finds himself appearing at the other side of the room, observing Graves and himself. And you'll see on this table in front of him, the other coin seems to be there. And he can't hear anything, but he can observe the room. And Graves will stand up and walk towards him, or more towards the other coin, not being able to see him. And just speak, these are old Kingsman coins, ancient relics. Not sure how they are created, but one can always observe where the other is and its surroundings. Very useful item to keep tabs on each other, yeah.
the sheriff will nod and say, I shouldn't be surprised. It just goes to show that there is still so much to learn.
I was thinking of keeping these relics myself, make sure they stay out of dangerous hands, but I think it's a good token of trust if we each kept one, in case something happened to the other.
The sheriff will nod and say, it will be an advantage we could sorely use against the enemy.
And we need all the advantages we have.
Do what needs to be done, Dietrich Graves, as the sheriff will rise. Adriana is my responsibility. I came here because I need assistance in order to maintain that responsibility. I understand why you did it. And for what it is worth, I was out of line earlier.
It is quite a surprise. I've not seen you act so human in a long time. It was quite refreshing. But I am worried for you, my old friend. She will be a disadvantage to you. But she is your responsibility. I will not interfere further.
He'll just sort of flip the coin in his hand again before depositing it back into his robe. Keep an eye on the Carthians, Dietrich. Keep an eye on them, and I will keep an eye on Maze. It is possible he is old enough and he has yet to be recorded to fall into the sleep of torpor. It is entirely possible that the enemy might be more closer than we realized, for it always leads back to him. The chaos always leads back to him.
And yet he always remains in a position of order. Nothing ever seems to affect him. The eye of the storm, perhaps.
Perhaps, as he will turn. Then he will begin to walk out again,
And Graves will just simply turn and sit back down, again flicking this coin over his desk, over his hand, rotates it a few times over his knuckles and places the coin over his eye, and he sees his friend, the sheriff, who is hidden, but he sees the coin moving, and he sees it moving through the shop and into the streets. And he smiles at perhaps his friend has learnt the lesson he was trying to teach him, but then his friend has also just reminded him that perhaps he's lost something, that perhaps there is an advantage to a child that he has not seen. And I think with that, we shall end scene. Thank you for watching.